reason we have a Cybertruck on the road now is because Elon Musk in 2012 envisioned a Tesla Cybertruck with crazy torque, dynamic air suspension, and corners like it's on rails. And he also said it would be an F-150 equivalent, which it is not. And realistically, Tesla was going to eventually make a pickup truck because pickup trucks are the best-selling cars in America. There is no chance a car company that is new is going to pass up on the best-selling segment. There's a reason companies that made sports cars now make sport SUVs. But just because Tesla was going to make a pickup truck doesn't mean they had to make the Cybertruck. Especially since this wasn't even really the initial plan, it seems like, because in 2017, Elon Musk teased the semi-truck, but he also teased a pickup truck with a smaller pickup truck in the back, and at this point in time, they were probably thinking it'd look more like this and less like this, the thing we have now. Because realistically, Tesla, being a new company, usually would pick a design that is not that controversial, especially since their cars are not that controversial. So when they revealed it in 2019, I saw this, I was surprised to say the least. And at this point, I think everyone knows what kind of disaster the reveal was, and honestly, it's close to fraud, because here are the original prices that were promised for the Cybertruck. Notice how it's nowhere near that cost now, and also how some of these features don't even exist, like 500 miles of range, it doesn't exist, but this reveals what the Cybertruck is most well known for, because it's where they broke the glass.
Oh my God.
Now, personally, I don't care if my glass is bulletproof. Honestly, I don't want it to be bulletproof. There's a lot of reasons why you don't want bulletproof glass in your car. But if you're on stage loudly proclaiming that the car is indestructible, and then someone breaks it, it makes you look real dumb. And then shortly after the disastrous reveal, COVID-19 happened. So pre-production of the Cybertruck that was initially supposed to happen in 2021 was delayed to 2023. And I honestly don't believe COVID was the reason for that at all, because I don't think this thing was ever ready to be launched, ever. The panel gaps in this thing are atrocious. The amount of recalls it's had is also kind of atrocious, and the amount of videos of this thing just straight up breaking for seemingly no reason is way too high for only selling like 20,000 of these. Like, I am taking into account that more people are gonna post about the Cybertruck because it is a hot topic, right? And there's still way too many videos of this thing breaking. So yeah, I think COVID was just a really good excuse to delay the project because this thing has always been a disaster. And that leads us to the actual release of the Cybertruck. And the first thing Tesla did was raise the price a lot. The cheapest model you can get is $99,000, which, if you've noticed, is a lot higher than the initial promised price. And on top of that, even with the range extender, you cannot hit 500 miles. It is physically impossible. It says your total estimated range will be 470 miles. And in the real world, my guess is that's 400. So after waiting 5 years, the truck is close to 3 times the cost, doesn't even have all the models it was promised, and doesn't even hit 500 miles of range on any of the models. And then the initial wheel covers that ship with the truck on release would destroy the tire over time and give you a blowout. And I'm not exaggerating. The fact that it would literally destroy your tire if you left it on means they did no real-world testing on this thing. Because if they just ran one tire with those aero covers for an extended period of time, they would have known it destroys the tire. They didn't even bother doing that. For a $100,000 car, I would expect every single component to have been stress tested before making it to production. This truck also has some of the most atrocious panel gaps you'll ever see in a car, period. Teslas are already known for having bad panel gaps. And if you add stainless steel body panels into the mix, yeah, it gets a lot worse. And the killer feature of stainless steel panel gaps is no crumple zones. I meant killer literally. Yeah, so the downside of the Cybertruck being indestructible means that you, the passenger, are there to absorb the impact of the Cybertruck, because crumple zones are what stop you, the passenger, from feeling the force of you hitting something. So if you hit something in the Cybertruck and there's no crumple zones, all of the force will be transferred to the chassis of the vehicle into you, effectively turning your bones into paste. And if you're one of the lucky ones, the car will brick itself for you so you can't hit anything. Oh.
It's like broke now.
And by one of the lucky ones, I mean seemingly half the people who bought this car. Edmunds Cars, a big car review company, bought their own Cybertruck to review. And it had so many issues, they had to scrap the idea of actually reviewing it and just talk about how it keeps breaking. That is the only thing they could do with this truck. And there's a lot of videos of this thing playing this exact noise. When journalists are getting their hands on this thing, the reputation of the Cybertruck dropped drastically. For example, this race with the Porsche 911 is fake. There are a lot of videos explaining how it's fake and why, but yeah, people call this out immediately because it doesn't make much sense from like a physics perspective, the thing that all things abide by. And all the journalists that got the car from Tesla had a lot of positive things to say. A car reviewer named Jason Camisa, who was over on the Haggery YouTube channel, had a lot of nice things to say about it, and that got him lambasted. Now, in his defense, a lot of the complaints for the Cybertruck really didn't start coming out until after it released, because normal people got their cars and realized it sucks. And I see how a car reviewer would appreciate the novelty of a Tesla Cybertruck. It is a novel thing. That is an undeniable fact. But the video itself was definitely a little bit uncritical. It highlighted all the good about the truck and none of the bad, which there are a lot of. And the longer this thing has been out, the worse the coverage has got about it. And that is for very good reason. Let's start with one of the issues this car has. The acceleration pedal will get stuck in the flooring it position if you floored it, which is like one of the worst things that could happen to a truck like this. Apparently the reason for this is because soap, like they used some kind of lubricant to get the pedal on, and that also made it fall off. And this is a pretty unacceptable issue. It is like one of the only things of the Cybertruck that has to be perfect, and they can't even do that. But the fix for it is them installing a screw into your pedal. You buy this fancy new Cybertruck, and the first week of you owning it, the Tesla service guy's pulling up and drilling into it. Like, this is a joke. And apparently washing this thing with anything destroys it. The weatherproofing is super flimsy, so it just comes off, exposing all the electronics to water relatively easily. And then on top of that, there's been multiple people who brought this into a car wash, and they get out of the car wash, and it's broken. And according to the manual, you're not supposed to wash it. Like, ever. What am I supposed to do with it then? Just let it accumulate dirt? But apparently you can't do that either. You have to wash it immediately, but with what? Like, what's the point of a weatherproofing if it falls apart at the slightest bit of weather? The tonneau cover also breaks super easily. Apparently, if you get anything in it, it just stops working. And if your tonneau cover gets stuck in the closed position, you literally can't use your rear view window anymore because for some reason they designed it so when the tonneau cover's closed, it blocks that. It's really stupid. The Cybertruck also catches on fire like way more than it probably should. There's been 3 fires within a month. And I'm not trying to fearmonger here by saying electric cars are gonna burn down your house or something. I don't think that. I just think the Cybertruck in particular is catching on fire a little too often. And with all of these problems, it is no wonder everyone has turned on this thing. There's always been a subset of people who hated this thing from the get-go. But I feel like a lot of people went from not liking it, including myself, to despising it with every bone in their body. I genuinely despise this thing. I think it's ugly, I think it's an engineering nightmare, and I think it is utterly pathetic that Tesla can get away with selling something so utterly terrible. Because frankly, I don't want this thing on the road with me. It clearly is some kind of fire hazard, more than other EVs, and it has no crumple zone. Obviously, it's not good for the person driving, but it's also not good as a driver in another car or a pedestrian. You don't want to get hit by the rolling tank with no crumple zone. And another reason why I don't want these things on the road is because in a Whistle and Diesel video, he torture tested the Cybertruck like he usually does. He did a lot to it. But at one point, the frame breaks. And if you don't know about truck frames, they're meant to basically be indestructible. If you throw a truck off a cliff, the frame should still be intact. The frame might get bent from that, but it should still be intact. The Cybertruck's frame broke from using it. And it wasn't just in his video. A normal person who bought the Cybertruck had their trailer break the frame of their truck because the trailer hit a pothole and sent it flying, and this was too much force for the pitiful little Cybertruck. The Cybertruck is a joke, and you should go check out my video called Cybertruck is a Joke Too, where we laugh at it for 20 minutes. Here's a clip.
Quick, Cybertruck, there's a child over there. Aim that car to the
For
target.
it! It's a good video. I recommend it. Click the answer now if you want to check that out. Like and subscribe down below. Follow me on Twitter at spatnz1 and have a good one.